Welcome back to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you guys are watching on Twitter right now with us, if you want, I encourage you to head over to our YouTube channel, Edgework. You can subscribe there, hit that bell to turn on notifications so you get notified exactly when we go live. As well, if you want to track all the picks that are made on this show, you can go to the BetStamp app, find us in the marketplace at Edgework, and you can see all the picks in real time. Joined today by Russ, So Money, Alex B. Smith. Guys, how's it going today?
Good.
No, not too bad.
Good. Watching Canada here, it's not going as well as I wanted.
Yeah, I was just seeing Alex Moretto. He's on the Tuesday show. I've been seeing his tweets talking about like this is the way we're gonna start. I wasn't tracking it. I pull it open. We're down 1-0 already. So it's like that's not even.
Now it's 2-0.
Oh, good, even better. Yeah, perfect.
And how we fancy certain teams and how certain teams are in dire situations.
Yeah, it's 4 years to regroup and get ready for the World Cup to be hosted in North America. So that's what this was, just the baby step. It was the learning opportunity. That's what it is. It's a learning opportunity. Get better for next one. I was talking to Russ before we started this. I got the opportunity to go to the Leafs game last night and see Mitch Marner continue his extend his 18 game point streak, tying the Maple Leafs franchise record for consecutive games with points. And then I was mentioning to him, like, this is a debate that, especially here in Toronto, has had a lot of times. It's just had amongst people who enjoy hockey, maybe not particularly about this player, but like the top 5 forwards in the NHL. Who are the best 5 forwards? And I started thinking about, is Mitch Marner a best top 5 forward in the NHL? He's been on the first team All-Stars for the NHL first team for the last 2 consecutive seasons now. This guy is continuing to put up points at a ridiculous rate. He's one of the best point getters, I guess, in the NHL at this point. It's kind of hard to exclude him from that, especially when he's being considered one of the best 3 or the best right winger, I guess, in a sense, the past few seasons. But then it's also, you look at some of the other guys in the NHL playing forward, and it's like, it's easy to start putting guys ahead of him. At what point does this guy just become a top 5 forward, or is he already there? Is there any way that he can even get into that list?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely on the right track, right? Like we talked about right before we jumped on, you have some insane names above him, I would argue, with McDavid and Draisaitl and Sidney Crosby and maybe even Ovechkin. But then when you look at, kind of their ages and what stage they're at in their careers, I mean, Mitch Marner's 25 years old. He's 12 years younger than Ovechkin. So, yeah, he's absolutely, if he's not already the top 7 forwards in the league, he'll easily be in that conversation in the next couple of years, in my opinion. Yeah, I think he's definitely on track to be one of the top stars in the NHL for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think right now he's on the fringe of top 10, definitely top 15 forward. I mean, there's a ton of forward talent in this league, and like you said, and we're just talking about, you mentioned Crosby, Ovechkin, Kane, some of the older guys that have taken some steps back a little bit. But think about some of the younger guys we're seeing emerge, like Jesper Bratt. We're seeing Tage Thompson, who I think Tage Thompson is going to be an absolute rock star moving forward. The highlight reel goal we saw from him on Monday, that kind of size and the hands that he has. So there's a lot of talent in this league. So it's not a knock if he's not a top 5 or top 10 forward, but he's definitely within that top 15, 20 range. And that's still a great group to be in right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's I would have him comfortably in the top 10.
Sure.
But I think that I doubt he'll ever be perceived as getting into the top 5. And the reason for that is that where he plays and who else is on that team. I think that because like Zach, you watch every Leafs game, like the kind of nuances of everybody there outside of the Toronto market. It'll always be, but Austin Matthews is there, so he can never get past Austin Matthews, even though he may be, in my opinion, just comfortably already in the top 10.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's what I was going to say. He's got that guy that's right there with him. I mean, they're not playing the same line right now, but in the past couple of seasons, they have been. It's like, it's his line mate, the guy who's winning the Hart, the Ted Lindsay, the Rocket. Like, it can be kind of hard to jump past that. But yeah, he's been on a heater, so we'll see if he can continue it and break that streak on Saturday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm sure it'll be a big story here in Toronto to see if he can get there. It's been something where he's been talking about the pressure that's been on him on this point streak. So we'll see if he can continue that. But looking around the league, there's a ton of games here tonight. One of the games, I'm going to jump right into it. It's got a massive underlying story tied into it. It is the Washington-Seattle game. And the reason I say that is because this Seattle team, where we were at with them, this is a very good team. You hear other teams, their coaches talking about Seattle, they all have high praise for them. I'm listening to Toronto media, and they're having insiders come on and guys who talk to other GMs, coaches, people around, and they're saying that Seattle team is legit. They're saying basically they were a good team last year. They just didn't get the results. We talked about how they struggled to score a little bit. They're finding ways to score this year. But part of the problem is they're got to outscore a lot of what's going on outside of what Martin Jones was doing to start the season. And now guess what? As soon as I say it earlier this week about Martin Jones as being great, I put the kiss of death on him, and he's regressing to become Martin Jones. This Seattle team going up against Washington here tonight. Seattle on a 6-game win streak, 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're going up against a Washington that's 4-5-1 in their last 10. They did just beat up on the Canucks 5-1, but in Seattle here, lacking some goaltending. I mean, so Money, I'm going to ask you first here, this goaltending matchup, in whether it be Grubauer or Martin Jones, does it change much if it's either one of these guys based on where Martin Jones is headed right now?
It changes a little bit based on market perception. So Jones is still seen as someone who has kind of resurrected his career, whereas Grubauer is still seen as the same old cupcake that we got accustomed to last season, right? So in terms of actual play on the ice, no, it shouldn't change that much, but the market will perceive this differently. In terms of Seattle as a team as a whole, I feel like we talk about them every show, and we should, because they're a very, very good team, and this is something that we touched on earlier. I felt that they just needed just some semblance of even above average goaltending, and this team could take off because of the finishers that they now have with this team. I didn't expect that to come from Martin Jones, obviously, and we are seeing kind of a little bit of a dip in his play, just because where he was a few weeks ago, it just was not sustainable. So what I will say though about Seattle is that I think that the market has caught up to them. I'm not sure how much higher you can make them in this game against a team like Washington, who I think they are starting to get better defensively. They are starting to slowly get healthy. So I'm waiting to see the goaltending confirmation first, but I think that the market is getting there on Seattle now.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you to a certain extent about the goaltending for sure. So Money, I thought that we were going to get kind of a change of the guard with Martin Jones earlier on in the year, playing on getting plus money, and then he gives up the 8 goals last game, and then I kind of had to recalibrate. But yeah, this number's a little bit too short for me, and we are going to play the Seattle Kraken at -120 here. My numbers actually have Seattle closer to -140. So I think that 120 is pretty good value. I could see this number jumping up a tick, but there is some opposition in the market. People like So Money and a few others that think that they've got to the resistance in the market. So we could honestly see it come back down to a -115 or so. As far as just the eye test goes, these are two teams I have going in the complete opposite directions. Washington, I was completely down on in the last few weeks. They've really haven't shown me anything. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. And a really big note that I made last night and this morning is they're terrible on the road. They're 3-7-2 on the road. They cannot generate any scoring chances at all. One of the biggest concerns I will have today is the goaltending with Seattle, as their goalies rank I've got their goalies combined 27th in the league. So hopefully we can get another 9-goal game and won't have to worry about those goalies at all. But yeah, this will be a play for me at -120. I like the Kraken.
Yeah, I'm right there with Russ. I like the Kraken at -$1.22, and you can't overreact too much to what you saw the other night with that Seattle LA game. 9-8. That's you don't see those scores too often these days, and you kind of have to just throw that out. And that's how the players look at it too. Okay, we got the victory, we got the 2 points, but you can't harbor on that. Martin Jones can't sit in the crease and practice and think about the 8 goals that he let up. He got the win. He's got to move on and get back to the form that he had been playing in the few games prior to that. And with that also being said, this is a Washington team that's not going to get into a boat race with anybody. We're not going to see them score 8 goals probably all year long unless Ovechkin goes completely nuts. This team is very slow. And like I said, they're going in the opposite direction. I like where Seattle's at right now. I think they can get past that last game, focus and kind of batten down the hatches a little bit. And even if it is, if it's not Jones in net tonight, then you get Grubauer going against his old team. I think that's a good spot as well. So either way, you shake it. I like Seattle here to get the win tonight.
All right, so we'll lock that in on the Edgework account on the BetStamp app, so you can track these in real time. They're all the plays will be tracked there. You can also see all the history of all the shows from Monday through Friday, how those have all played out. Let's go to another game here where we've got another team with some interesting goaltending situation going on. That would be the Edmonton Oilers and the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota had just gotten Fleury back off of injury. He didn't start the season where he would have liked to be, or they would have liked him to be, especially considering they had felt comfortable moving on from Cam Talbot in the offseason. Then this Edmonton team between Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner hasn't been ideal. They've kind of got the Koskinen, Mike Smith phenomenon going on back there again. And then part of the problem this Edmonton team is having, if you hear a lot of people online, whether it's smart people talking about the game or it's just people watching and seeing what's happening, is there's a big concern that in Edmonton, if you take even just one of McDavid or Draisaitl out of that lineup, they're basically like an AHL team with a superstar on it. So this Edmonton team, they're kind of hanging on by a thread in that sense, just getting by in some of these games. But going up against Minnesota here, against Edmonton, who's on a back-to-back, they did just win last night 5-4 in Chicago. Russ, when you're looking at this game, Edmonton on a back-to-back, Minnesota waiting at home for Edmonton to get there. How are you looking at this game?
Well, talking to you the last few weeks, you know exactly how I'm looking at this game. And if you've watched this, this show, you know that my numbers love the Oilers all year. I'm a glutton for punishment for sure. I was actually hoping they would make this -110 both ways so I wouldn't have to play it. But if you're going to give me +125, +130 on the Oilers on the road, I think this is a great spot for them to get right. They showed that they can score with anybody. Their forwards are amazing. Their front end is extremely heavy, but yes, their goalie play is just terrible. And this is not dissimilar from the Kraken, who we just got done talking about. Very, very similar teams. But again, I have the Oilers sneaking into the playoffs, and I think the Wild will just barely miss it. So again, two teams going in sort of the wrong direction. One of the biggest edges that I have in this game is the power play. Edmonton Oilers are third in the power play, and the Minnesota Wild give up the 30th most penalty minutes in the NHL. So what I'm counting on here is hopefully a couple of early penalties, and Edmonton puts in a couple early goals, gets up 2-0 or so, and then just kind of puts the game away. And we've talked about this on here before. I'm pretty low on Fleury this year, so I have no issues going against him here. I just don't think this Wild team is playing very well. 5-4-1 in their last 10. So yeah, I think this should be lined closer to a pick'em, or even Edmonton a little bit of a favorite. So if you're going to give me one +125, 128, I'll take that every day. So yeah, I'm on the Oilers here per usual.
Yeah, and it makes it. The reason for this line has to do with the history for the Wild. They've won 7 straight against the Oilers, have dominated them well, but they are not playing good at all. While watching their game over the weekend against Arizona, a team they should have dominated and have dominated in recent history, the puck pass, the movement was terrible. The passing was sloppy. They weren't taking enough quality shots, and even though they jumped out to a margin lead, they end up almost blowing that game. They only win 4-3. So, we've seen them, like I said, they've really struggled at home, which is something uncharacteristic of them for years and years. They've always been a good home team.
Yeah.
Even when they weren't a great team overall, they still found ways to win at home. But I think this is just this line is set because of previous history, not current form, and even off of a back-to-back and a bit of a boat race last night with Edmonton and Chicago. Jack Campbell more than likely going to start tonight. He needs to find his form and get some confidence back. This is a good team for him to do it against. I would look at Edmonton at that plus price too. I think that's a little bit too big.
Yeah, just to touch on what Alex said real quick. Something that's going on with Minnesota at home. They've allowed the fourth most goals per game at home at 3.75 goals when they play at home. For some reason, they just can't stop anything at home, and they've really struggled in their home arena. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a play for me tonight. I'm pretty sure. I would assume we've got Campbell and Fleury almost 95%, right?
Yeah,
I would guess. So I can't imagine Skinner running back to back.
Right.
It's a possibility, but I highly doubt it.
Right.
Yeah, the market took off on Minnesota early when it did open. They did open a little bit short. Yeah, this is one of those games where a lot of this does have to do with Minnesota on the extra rest and Edmonton on a back-to-back. The market loves to let's just say overreact to those kind of situations. Campbell, I've got him in my notes here. Poor overall play, and he's starting to trend worse. Fleury, he's actually starting to trend poorly again. He had a stretch there of like good play, but I've got him as kind of dipping down a bit, and I've got bright red notes here to monitor Fleury. So I'll be off this game. I'll be watching. Little bit of interest in the in over, but this is a game that I would like to monitor, as my notes say.
Sure.
Alex, this next game here, I'm going to let you take the floor with. It is the Florida-Vancouver game. I was watching Florida-Calgary the other night. This Florida team's in a very weird spot. They're on a 3-game losing streak on this road trip that they're on. They've got losses to St. Louis in overtime, Edmonton in overtime, and then I watched that game against Calgary. Like, Calgary just took it to them. Calgary was the better team in that game against Florida. They're 10-9-4, fifth in the Atlantic. They're kind of just skidding along at this point. Like, it's not very comfortable for them. 3-4-3 in their last 10. Going into Vancouver, kind of closing out this road trip. The Canucks are 5-5 in their last 10. They're 9-11-3. And this has been one of those interesting teams where, I mean, So Money was scratching his head the other day because he's like, well, this team was horrible to start. Now all of a sudden they're winning games, but then it's like you get a game where they go out and lose 5-1 to the Washington Capitals. So it's just been all over the place. But you have some best bets in this game here?
Yeah, I like this first period over at 2. I'm seeing as high as $1.18 at Bet Online, $1.15 at Betfred. I think this is a really good spot here because Florida. Here's the thing: they're not playing that up and down hockey that we saw last year, right? And that's mainly because Paul Maurice is the coach. It's not his style. He wanted this team to be a bit more balanced, be a bit more cycle heavy. It hasn't really worked out. And now, to make matters worse, they aren't getting the goaltending that we were expecting from Bobrovsky or Spencer Knight. Bobrovsky looked terrible and got caught out of position quite often in that game against Calgary, and that's a huge red flag now for this Panther team. If they can't generate that up and down offense or get good goaltending, they're in a world of trouble. And this is a Vancouver team. They've been top of the pops as far as first period overs go. And even with a 2 hung on here, the 3-2 with 2 pushes, the last 10 going over in that first period with a number of 2. So I think that's good plus value there, going over 2 in the first period tonight.
So I hope that they score 3 goals in the first and then they don't score anything the rest of the way. I do have the under here. It was a pretty significant move here. We went from there were some 7s, there were plus 115s to plus 118s on the under 6.5. So anything plus money under in that game is a play on. I think Alex nailed it about Bobrovsky. He stinks, and there's no way that they can get out of that contract either. I think that Knight is obviously the better option there. One concern I have for this game is that, well, besides all my concerns about the Canucks in general, but one concern I have on this game is that Knight, he does have above average overall metrics, but I'm starting to see some signs of him dipping a bit lately. So that's something I want to keep an eye on. I'm assuming that Demko gets to start today. Of course, we've talked about Demko. He's been poor overall, but he's actually looked better in two of his last 3 games. And Coach Boudreau touched on that as well, that his movement is starting to get better. So hopefully whatever's ailing him, he's slowly starting to come out of that. Alex touched on Florida doesn't go back and up and down the ice anymore. I completely agree. And in fact, recently I have them trending better defensively, especially when they're playing on the road. And that's a staple of Paul Maurice's past teams as well. So Canucks, poor defensive play. There's nothing new to be said about that. But one thing that does stand out with them is that they have been scoring goals lately, but their offensive generation is not proportional to the goals that they've been putting up. So there's been a ton of luck involved in the goals that they've been scoring lately. So I would expect that to come down at some point. And against a team like Florida that's actually starting to trend better defensively, I think that we have a situation for an under there in the last 40 minutes of this game.
Yeah, I think there's not much I can add. So Money and I have been kind of button heads on the Panthers totals all season. I got the last one with the Panthers and the Flames over. I mean, I'm going to be on this over tonight for sure. I took 6.5. I think there's a good chance we get to 7 goals or more here. Honestly, I think that if Canucks score 2, then the Panthers can put up 5 against this Canucks defense. Just to touch on a couple of things, I mean, there's not much more I can add. Florida's got the 25th ranked goalies, according to my numbers. Vancouver has the 30th ranked goalies. Demko's allowed 4 or more goals in 10 of his last 14 starts. And for some reason, Vancouver's not very good at stopping any rushes at home. They're 7th in goals allowed per game at home. They're averaging 3.67 goals allowed at home. I honestly think this game could go either way, but at the number now where it's currently sitting 6.5 minus 110, I'm going to have to take the over here for sure.
All right, fair enough. And final game to look at here as well. We track these picks in the BetStamp app as in the marketplace and Edgeworks. You can find them all in real time. If you guys are watching on Twitter, I do encourage people to go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Edgework channel. You can click the bell, turn on notifications so you get notified when we go live Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. But final game here tonight that we'll cover, Vegas-Pittsburgh. This game is in Pittsburgh. Chris Letang will be out indefinitely. It was reported he suffered a stroke on Monday. They said Pittsburgh released a statement saying he's suffering no long-term after effects from that. So hopefully everything's okay with Chris Letang. He can get back to normal life. I mean, above all else, and playing hockey and everything, it's the same thing that we dealt with here in Toronto with Jake Muzzin. Is you just hope these guys at least can get back and have normal lives, no matter what it is that they're suffering from. That is most important in this. But Pittsburgh on a 2-game losing streak right now. Vegas is just coming off of a shootout win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Right now, it was looking at like it was basically a coin flip game here tonight in Pittsburgh. Russ, you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of pick everyone's brain on this game because I have a couple different angles I like. Just looking at my numbers, I've liked Pittsburgh all season. I think if you could get them as a dog here, I think that would be a pretty good contrarian spot to play them at home. Now, when I dig into it a little bit more, I actually tend to sort of like the over a little bit better. I think Vegas has just been amazing on the road. They're 10-1-1 on the road, and their overs are 8-4 on the road, and their overs are 2-10 at home. For some reason, they put up way more goals on the road than they do at home. So that makes me a little bit nervous about the Penguins pick, and makes me lean towards the over a little bit more. There's nothing too much can be said about the Knights. First in expected goals for, first in high danger shots. This team has just been playing awesome, and especially on the road, they've been putting up a ton of goals. As far as the kind of the importance of the game, this is probably a lot bigger game for the Penguins, just as far as where they sit in the standings. They're tied with the Rangers in 4th place, so this is a much bigger goal for the Penguins. And they have been playing better. They have been trending better. But as far as right now, I don't have a play on anything. Gun to my head, I would probably go over. And I did see a rogue 6 out there on the market. So I think if you could get a 6, I think that would be a solid play on the over. But other than that, I'm just sort of watching and sort of kind of lean into the market to tell me which direction to go. But yeah, I would love to know, your guys' thoughts on this game. It should be an awesome game.
Yeah, it definitely should be a fun game to watch. I mean, you got a Vegas team that top in the Pacific Division. Pittsburgh, had a little bit of a strong run, then they fall off. They're very streaky kind of a team. Vegas has struggled in Pittsburgh. They've lost 5 of the 7 meetings that they've had there at PPG Paints Arena. And one of the things I would look at wouldn't be the over, but I would wait and grab a better number in game. I don't think we're going to see a lot of scoring early. I think if you wait, bet live, you can get that 6 or 6.5 drop down to a 5.5, maybe even a 5.5 at a plus price, and then jump on that. Like you mentioned, 8-4 to the over on the road with Vegas. Penguins have gone under in 3 of their last 4 home games, but they do have the offense to kind of keep and trade blows with Vegas. So I think it'll be a fun one to watch. I probably will be on that over too, but I'm going to wait and play it in game.
Nice.
I think we need to wait for the goaltenders here. I think that there's a chance that Vegas is going to go with Hill. I think that's something to keep an eye on. I would assume DeSmith starts, but it's Mike Sullivan, so it could be Jari. I don't know. Right. So I think we need to wait that out. In terms of where I've got the goalies, Hill trending poorly. I don't think that if you like Vegas, I don't think you can bet that right now because you need to wait. Because if you get stuck with Vegas and a bad number on Hill, like that's not necessary to put yourself in that position. Pittsburgh, if you like Pittsburgh, as soon as Hill gets confirmed, if he does, that line is going to jump. So if you like Pittsburgh, you would need to get on that pretty quick. I think this game is lined correctly as a coin flip. I'll wait and see if there's any overreactions in the market, or in Hill's case, any underreactions. But right now, I think that it's lined fairly as a pick'em. I will say, got in my notes here, Pittsburgh. They have shown that they're struggling when they have to step up against good teams. A lot of their wins here have been against inferior opponents, and of course they're stepping up now against Vegas, and we saw how they did when they had to step up their last 2 games against Toronto and Carolina. So I think that that's something to keep an eye on as well.
All right. Any other games that are jumping out to you guys before we close this one off?
I was leaning toward taking the first period puck line, laying a half a goal at plus 135 with the New Jersey Devils tonight against the Nashville Predators. I mean, they've just been rolling as of late, and I don't see this Nashville team being able to kind of keep pace with them. I think New Jersey can kind of get off to a hot start right here, and I think that's a good value. So the half a goal in the first period with New Jersey at plus 1, I'm seeing plus 130, plus 135. I think that's great value there.
All right, we'll lock that one in there as well. So, money, any other games?
Not right now. Just waiting things out. I just have that under in Vancouver locked in, and waiting on goaltenders and lineup information right now.
All right, and same goes for you there, Russ.
Yep, I think we pretty much covered everything I've got. I got the Florida over, Seattle Kraken money line, and the Edmonton Oilers money line so far, and then just keeping an eye on that Pittsburgh Vegas game.
All right. All of the picks that are made on Edgework Monday through Friday are tracked in the BetStamp app in the marketplace as Edgework. You can find us there. You can get notifications in real time when these picks are tracked. So even if you for some reason have to miss a show, you can get notified of what our picks are. You can find us on podcasts wherever you listen to your podcast after the show. But if you want to watch live, go to our YouTube channel. Edge work. You can subscribe there, turn on notifications so that you get notified as soon as we go live, so you can hear all the picks, all the insight in real time. Guys, thank you so much for joining here today. Hopefully everyone has a good night with their bets. Good luck on that. And I will see everyone next Thursday.
Cheers, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Cheers. Good luck.